What's up, YouTubians? Gary here with VW Jawbreaker. Welcome back to the channel. So I've been getting a lot of emails and questions lately regarding my run box stand, my start stand. How did I make the bell housing adapter? How did I go about wiring everything? You know the old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat? Come along and I'll show you my way of skinning this cat and making things work. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to cover how to make the bell housing assembly, how to make the run box, how I went about doing this, and more importantly, how I went about wiring things. All right, so this is how I went about setting up my box. Of course, I decided to put a tack in just so I could see RPMs, not just hear them. Oil pressure light, alternator light. I run everything through a master switch, so it shuts everything down. Coil, energized tachometer, push button to start. And it's real simple to hook up. Just a couple gator clamps. And these is actually a hookup by my starter. I'll show you here in a minute. And then I've got all my wiring running through this loom. Keeps everything nice and organized. So we'll take these couple screws out real quick. As you see, got an inline fuse. For the most part, everything's pretty organized. We got everything looping around. But to make this easier, let's go up to the board and we'll really show you how we wire it. Hoping you guys can see this all right. So here we go. We've got our control box. Make it out of whatever you want. We've got our main power coming in up to our master switch. Out of the master switch, it comes to your second switch, third, whatever, just daisy chain it, and then goes to your start button. Also off of this one, we've tied in our oil and alternator lights. So we'll take our alternator, the other side of our alternator light grounds. Same with our oil. So we'll take from the other side of the oil lights, you've got two prongs, right? Same with your alternator light, you got two prongs. So you're pushing power to one side. On the negative side, you're coming over, connecting your oil sending unit. From the negative side of this one, same thing. Coming out, coming around, going to your alternator. Your coil, you're coming off of this side, and coming down over to your coil. This side of your start, coming over, going down to your start. So you're feeding your power in. From there, you're just daisy chaining, right? Therefore, when you activate that switch, that wire just goes to where it needs to go. Now I do have a negative hooked up, and this pretty much only really runs my tack. You may or may not need that negative alligator clamp on your setup. Doesn't hurt to have some stuff to ground, but that'll be up to you. For the most part, this is a very simple, basic, easy setup. You've got, again, power coming in, power coming out of the master, into your next switch, whatever I use, a push button. From there, your power just goes out. It's a very basic setup. I think the most confusing part is usually hooking up an oil light or an alternator light. Again, feed one side of power to the light, the other side hooks to the device. So your device is actually grounding your light. So as long as you have a ground to your engine, it usually comes off your battery, not so much the start box, you're good. So let's go see it in action. Well, I've got a starter mounted to a cut bell housing. I'll go ahead and link that in the description below. It's pretty simple, just cut the bell housing and then you can just bolt it right up, allow you to run it on the stand. My box is pretty simple. It's got a tachometer just so I can see RPMs instead of hearing RPMs. We've got a master switch, a coil switch to energize the coil, and of course switch for the tachometer in case I don't want it on. And of course a push start button. I have an oil light, I also have an alternator light. So in order to hook it up, we've got a couple of gator clamps here. Believe it or not, the negative is just enough to run your light and also to run the tach. It's not really running much. So I've got my battery down below. I got my hot coming in here to the starter just like you would on your car, and I've got the negative right there on the starter. So your positive, just clamp on there, and your negative, I usually bring it up here to the starter bolt. Gives me a nice ground that way. The other wire on here is for the starter. Now on the other end, coming out of the box, I've got a mess of what, 4 wires? Let's show you where those hook up. So I usually kind of bring these around, dive them back through here, and then we've got a yellow, hold on, screen went. We've got a yellow, red, brown, and whatever color that is. I've also got the different terminals on there, either protected or not, to help me remember what's a positive and what's a negative. So the brown is our oil pressure switch. We go right there. Our red, of course, is power to the coil. So we'll go ahead and hook that up right there. It's kind of hard to do it one-handed. There we go. Our yellow is for the tach. So hook that up on the negative side of the tach. All right. And then this wire here, I have lengthened so I can bring it over, and that's my exciter wire for the alternator. That's really it. It's just a couple wires. Come on guys, it's a Volkswagen engine. Got a couple wires, couple switches. I know this is a little redundant, but I like having a master switch. I like having one for be able to turn my coil off and on so I can crank without trying to fire. It makes it easier than unplugging and plugging, you know, your power into the coil. So everything's hooked up. Got our gas turned on. We'll go ahead and give her a couple pumps. Now we'll turn master on, coil on, and this is a cold start. Well, as you can see from a couple quick old clips there, start box and run stand, the little starter bell housing, everything works fantastic. Haven't had a lick of problem with it. You know, again, more than one way to skin a cat. Find a way that works for you. But this method has worked really well for me over many engine builds, running many engines out of the car so far. What can I say? Could it be better? Maybe. Could it be worse? Sure, we couldn't have it at all. So guys, thanks for the questions. I appreciate the support. Thanks for sticking around. Be good, be kind to one another. We'll catch you on the next one.